Hi everyone, today we're going to start sowing sweet peas. This is an early spring sowing where I'm going to use the tissue rolls for getting an early start on my root system so that I can plant them out as early as possible. So right now I am just dampening and preparing my potting mix. This is the Glee potting mix. You can use whatever potting mix of your choice. I'm just getting it moist so that it will hold together and pack in these toilet paper rolls. And so once you get the soil to the dampness and consistency that you want and have picked out any larger debris, then you are ready to load up those toilet paper rolls. Sweet peas are a early spring flower. You can sow them in the winter time, but this is an early spring video as I didn't do any winter sowing. So let's get these loaded into the toilet paper rolls. I usually use a rack and because it's just easy to handle when I have pots or something like toilet paper rolls. I'm just going to load up the rolls and pack them enough so that the potting mix doesn't all fall out the other end. So I do have to pack them a little snug. This is such a light, fluffy potting mix that I don't really have to worry about it being overpacked. Once you load them all up into the toilet paper rolls, then we'll start planting them. While I'm getting this done, let me tell you a little bit about the sweet peas I'm planting. I'm planting the Old Spice sweet pea variety, which is a Spencer type sweet pea. They tend to be a little bit more heat tolerant. The Old Spice mix is a really nice blend of variety of colors and has a really strong fragrance as well. They do climb, so you need to provide some sort of trellising system. They like full sun. This particular variety likes full sun, and none of the ornamental sweet peas are edible, so they're toxic to animals and humans. So make sure that you keep them separate from your vegetable sweet pea type varieties. And I'm actually planting them on the opposite side of my yard for that very reason. So sweet peas, when you sow these, you can direct sow them as well in early spring. You would do it at about the same time that you do your garden sweet peas, and they take about 10 to 15 days to germinate. Prior to germinating, if you want to help speed that up, you should soak them in warm water, and I let them soak for about an hour in about 100 to 110 degree water. And then you can even let them, the seed coat crack open. I actually germinated these particular ones on wet paper towels, and I put them on a heat mat, and they sprouted right away. So now that we have our toilet paper rolls all full of soil, I'm going to create holes for them. Since I pre-sprouted these, they're tender, and so I want to make sure that I have can just drop them right into the toilet paper rolls and not worry about breaking them. So I'm just creating a little hole about 1 to 2 inches deep so that I can drop the sprouts right in there, and then they'll be good to go. So with regards to how you plant them, if you pre-germinate them, you can, sorry these are a little bit out of the picture frame, but I do bring them up closer in a minute here. I had some editing issues with this video, so I apologize. But you can see that when the seed coat cracked, you get a little bit of a sprout. Well, and if they get a little longer than this example, you can actually see which one is the root, which is kind of a a longer white sprout, and then the shoot, which has a little bit of a greenish tint. Well, you want the, the greenish tint side up. So I bury them about an inch deep in this toilet paper roll method, and then I just lightly cover them with the soil mix, and then you would want to dampen it so that you don't ever want them to dry out. So they're also heavy feeders. So of note, what I didn't say earlier in this video, I did mix in some worm castings. So you can amend your potting mix a little for if you're going to keep these in these toilet paper rolls for a bit. Then I store them in a cool area, such as my greenhouse or maybe in a covered porch. All right, so here we are out in the greenhouse. This is a week later. And look, I have some germinating of these sweet peas. So it looks like I may not have a fabulous germination rate because the seeds that I used for this round were older seeds. These weren't the new ones. I used up some old ones. So I really planted heavily to try and get whatever I can get. So here's the rest of them. Sorry, the tags are turned around backwards. I reused my tags. They'll say things like pumpkin. They're not pumpkins. They are sweet peas. Okay, so now it is time to water these seedlings. So I usually just use a smaller container to try to control. You can see how fast it can come out and saturate the seedlings. So I try to go a little bit slower and dampen the potting mix so that the seedlings don't dry out but are not sitting in saturated soil. So I just move along. I do this once a day. I check on them, and I'm finding that I'm needing to water these about every 1 to 2 days right now. Some tubes require more water than others, but I do have different kinds of potting mix in these tissue rolls, so that explains that. And I keep this greenhouse unheated, except for we're going to dip down into the 20s, so I did turn it on low so that we're prepared for that. Okay, so now where I'm going to grow. So I'm going to use the string method and the cordon method and grow my sweet peas up along this fence line, attaching it to the upper trellis here. So I will do a video on that for you. So be sure and subscribe so that you get notified so you can follow this journey, because I have big plans for these sweet peas. Happy growing!